Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and hello if you're new here. I'm so glad that you have joined. We've got a huge book recommendation video because I was sitting here and I was thinking that I'm in the middle of so many series, right, which is going to be a whole other video on its own. And sometimes you don't want to commit to a full-on series, and everything these days is either an interconnected standalone, part of a bigger series. Series these days don't just end up 3 or 4 books anymore. Like, we're going 6-7 book series at this rate, and not everybody wants to commit to series that long. So I was thinking, what standalone books have I read over the last couple of years that are actually really, really good, that I feel like some of them people aren't talking about enough, or that they're just so good that people need to read them. So I've compiled, I think I've got 13 complete standalones here that I think everybody should read at least once in their life, because I think they're that good, they're that fun, some of them are different, some of them are unique, some of them are just downright crazy. Sometimes it's nice to just pick up a book and just know that once you complete this book, there is not multiple more books to come. You don't have to go and buy any more books. As much as we all love buying books, sometimes we need to stop. And these are some of my favourites that I've read over the years. Some of these I feel like are so underrated as well, and that more people need to be talking about, because they are such good standalones. Very rare now to find authors be able to write such really good full and complete stories in just one book, where it stays with you for a while, where the characters were just so good, like where the storyline was good, the plot, it was fleshed out, just so much depth, all of that good stuff. So these are my recommendations. I really truly believe that if you haven't read some of these books, please take some recommendations from these videos, because they are so good. Some of them are popular, you've probably heard of. Some of them I just feel like people need to talk about more, and everybody needs to read these. And also, when I say that these are standalones, these are not even like interconnected standalones. They are true standalones. There's no more books that follow other characters from this world or anything like that where you could technically read them as standalones. These are books that once you finish the book, you finish the story. And that's quite difficult to find now. So the first recommendation I have is Serpentine Valentine by Gianna Darling. I feel like this book is so severely underrated. It is a dark romance. It's also a sapphic romance, so it's an FF romance, 2 females, and it is also a Medusa retelling, which I think is really unique and just such a really good twist. It is a bully romance as well, so it is more on the darker side. There is definitely bullying in this. Now, what I will say is, like, if you've read Tryst 6 Venom by Penelope Douglas, which is her sapphic romance, I actually think, dare I say it, because Penelope is one of my favourite authors, that this is better. The writing in this book is absolutely beautiful. Now, it basically follows 2 girls that are in an academic setting, and there's this whole push and pull between them, and they kind of push each other away because they don't feel like that they can be together. There is also like a professor in this who does like some really horrendous things, and the feminine rage in this book is absolutely 10 out of 10. Like, just as a female, you need to read this. It's so good. The story's really good. It's a very unique twist on just like your typical sapphic romances. It's not, I'd say in terms of bully romance, because I know that's not everybody's favourite, I'd say it sits somewhere in the middle in terms of like, I like bully romance to like doing absolutely horrendous things. It sits kind of in the middle, but I really, really loved this book. And there is actually a quote in this book. Let me try and find it on my Goodreads. I need to read you this quote just so that you can understand what the writing in this book is like. It is so beautiful. Okay, right, listen to this quote. I remember including it in my Goodreads review because I just thought it was beautiful. The quote is, "The thing about heartbreak was that it wasn't a single hammer hit to the organ, a one-time shattering. It was ongoing, a withering with time, a flux and contraction of fruitless hope paired with the bitter reality of unrealised dreams dying at slow deaths." Are you kidding me? The writing in this, so good. So if you haven't read this yet, I really, really strongly recommend it. It's such a good dark romance. Next up, this is one of my 6-star reads. I read this book like 3-4 years ago. Still to this day, I am not over this book, but it is The Idea of You by Robin Lee. Now, Amazon did make this into a film about 1 or 2 years ago. If you've watched that film and therefore think that it was really cheesy and really rubbish and you don't want to read this, please do not go off that film, because I do not feel like that film did this book justice. This is a rock star romance. It's also a reverse age gap, which means that the woman is older than the boy. In this, I think Hayes is like 20 or maybe 22, and then we have Selene, who is this older woman. I think when the book starts, she's like either 38 or 39. He is a world famous rock star, and her daughter is his biggest fan. Selene's daughter is literally she's like 13 or something, his biggest fan. There's this one day where they go for lunch together. So basically her daughter gets like a meet and greet, and she has to go and take her daughter to the meet and greet, and that's where she meets Hayes, and they end up in this kind of like forbidden romance, kind of secret until it's not a secret romance, but it is so much deeper than just a rock star romance because it tackles all of these subjects. Like Selene's going through a divorce. She's also this older woman. She's very classy. She runs an art gallery. Like, they are complete opposite sides of the world from each other. Her daughter is literally his biggest fan. It's about like keeping these secrets. Should she do this to her family? Should she do it to her daughter? Like, her ex-husband sticks his 2p in about what Selene's doing. But it's like they're the happiest that they've ever been, and the world just cannot accept them for what they are. And this book, I'm just going to say, it does not have a happy ever after. Just know that going into it. It is soul crushing, but like also in the best way. And it's just such a beautiful story. It's so good. The ending had me in tears. There's not many books that make me cry. I think I can count on one hand how many times I've cried reading a book. It really takes a lot for me to get to that point. And for a standalone to do that to me, because normally it's when I'm in like the middle of a series and things happen to characters that I already know and love. This book broke my heart, but like in the best way. This book sticks with me for so long. It's really good. Please read it. Even if you've watched the film, please still read this book. You will realise like how much better this book is than the film. It truly is just incredible, and I'll never stop. Honestly, it's been years and years. I think I read this in either the end of 2021 or in 2022, and I still cannot get over this book. Next up, now I feel like this is a bit controversial, and when I first read this book, I didn't love it as much as I do now. But now I've read more dark romance, because this is when I was like dipping my toes into the genre. I've realised how good Punk 57 is for a dark romance. So this is a dark bully romance. It is also, people say it's a rock star romance. I don't think it's a rock star romance. I just think that Misha is a rock star in this, and that's kind of as far as it goes. It is a bully romance, and it is quite intense on the bullying, I think. But this basically follows Misha and Ryan, and it's got the secret identity trope in it, which I think is rarely ever done, and it's done so well in this. They are pen pals for a number of years, and then when they finally meet, they don't realise for a while that they were each other's pen pals for ages. But then Misha, basically, through their letters, Ryan is a completely different person than she is when Misha finally meets her face to face. And then he gets so angry about it that he wants her to truly be who he believes her to be and who she really is deep down, because she tries to be like the popular girl at school, tries to fit in with these groups of people that just aren't her. And yeah, basically he gets so angry at the fact that she just can't really be who she is. And Misha himself is kind of like almost in a way a bit of an outcast, and he just wants, like, they would fit in so well together, and it's kind of like that. It's kind of like almost a coming of age, but not really, because it's like a dark romance. It's really good. It's one of Penelope Douglas's, I think, not like underrated, but everybody talks about everything else. Credence, Five Brothers, the Devil's Night series, and rightfully so. But Punk 57 is still really, really good. It's, like I say, just a true standalone. It is super short. I read this book in one sitting. I actually remember so well. I came back from Manchester from like a weekend, like going out, and I was unwell and I had a day off work, and I just sat down with this book and I read it from front to back within like 5 hours. I could not put this book down. I really enjoyed it. I think at the time I gave it 3.75 stars, but I do feel like if I reread this, it would be like a 4 to 4.5 star read, definitely. It's really good. The character work in it, great. As it always is with Penelope. Okay, I'm sorry if the lighting is just like completely changed. I've just had to open my windows because it is hot. The sun is sunning in England today, and when the sun suns in England, it's actually not fun. It's really unenjoyable, and we're just so not prepared for any weather above 25 degrees. It's so hot. So sticking on the Penelope Douglas theme, Credence. Credence. As you all probably know, especially if you've been subscribed to me for a while, this is one of my favourite books of all time. It's in my top 3, maybe top 2, maybe top ever book. I don't know, but if I have to like categorise them, is this my favourite ever standalone? 100%. Everybody I think knows the story by now, but if you don't, this basically follows Tiernan, who loses her parents. They both die, and she has never really been loved by them. They were like famous, they were like celebrities basically. I think they were actors and actresses. So she loses both her parents, and she has to go and stay with her like estranged step uncle. He lives in this cabin, which you can actually see on this wonderful special edition that I have of it. But they live in this cabin above this town. It's like a small town, but not, because they don't, the book isn't set in the small town, but there is only one small town at the bottom of the mountain, and winter is coming, so they have to like stock up and get all their supplies in, because once they're snowed in at the top of this mountain, there is no way to get back down. It's too dangerous. She goes to stay with her step-uncle Jake, who has 2 sons, Noah and Caleb. Caleb is mute in this book for reasons that you do find out. He has a lot of trauma. Caleb is not nice to her. So in terms of like the dark romance taboo elements to this, so yeah, okay, there's step uncle and step siblings, obviously not blood related, but yeah, I know that people get funny about that. Look, it's taboo. The whole reason that it has that label is because of what is in this book. So if you don't like it, then that's fine, don't read it. What I will say is that despite that, this is one of the best character arcs and character development between any characters I've ever read in any book ever. It's so good. But basically what happens on this mountain is there's a lot of trauma bonding, right? There's a lot of trauma bonding going on here. Everybody in this book kind of needs to go to therapy. Like, that's no secret. But Tiernan falls for Jake, who's her uncle. He's 40 in the book, so you also have the age gap trope. He has this inner monologue because he's just like, what is going on? Like, what? I know what I'm doing is wrong. My feelings are wrong. But they can't help how they feel about each other. But then at the same time, she also falls for his 2 sons, her step-cousins. And there are some wild scenes in this book, because the craziest part about all of this is they are all living in this cabin together and they all know that they're sharing her. But they're kind of all vying for her love in some way, shape or form. She does end up with only one of them. It isn't a wide choose. She does pick one of the love interests who she's going to be with forever. I am still to this day not happy about that choice at all. I won't mention it because if you haven't read this book, I don't want to ruin it, but I'll never get over the choice she made. Never. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it's spicy, it's taboo, it's crazy. The setting is amazing. Like, they go hunting, they're going through all these like pine tree forests and all these woods, and there's these lakes and these waterfalls. Like, the setting of the book is amazing, the storytelling is amazing, the character development is amazing. I will always defend this book till the day that I die. I know it's not for everybody, but is it one of the best standalones I've ever read? Yes. And should you read Credence if not only for the experience? Yes. Okay, next up, this is completely different to any other books that I've got in this pile, but this book was amazing. This is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which is a sci-fi thriller novel. Oh my god, I read this book on holiday in Dubai last year. So me and Charlie actually bought the same book together at the airport and decided to read it like in tandem together on holiday, and we had the best time. This is why I ended up picking out a book like this, because obviously I'm not going to pick out a dark romance for Charlie to read. I think he would probably never buy me a book again once he realises what is in those books. It is absolutely mind-boggling and blows your brains, but in the best way possible. It's about like alternate universes, multiple worlds. If any of you watch like The Flash, you know where you have like all these universes and like other Earths and stuff, like parallel universes. It's kind of like that, but so much more clever and serious. And our MMC in this, basically, it turns out that there was like multiple of him in multiple other timelines, and they're all coming for him, essentially. Like, he's coming for himself. It's the only way I can describe it. Imagine if like Interstellar and Inception had a baby. This is what this book would be. It is so good. Even if this is not your genre, I guarantee you'll read this and rate it 5 stars. I promise you. If you want something different, if you want to branch out, read something that's not romance or dark romance or fantasy, honestly start with this book. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I actually really can't wait to read it. There's another book by him that I'm going to take when we go to Dubai in October this year, which is called Recursion. I'm going to read that then, and I think that one's supposed to be even better, like very similar sci-fi vibes. I still think about it to this day. I remember literally laying by the pool and me and Charlie were looking at each other like, what is actually happening right now? But even though it's quite complex in terms of alternate universes and space and time and all that kind of stuff, it is also really easy to follow. It's not too complex to the point where, unless you have a physics degree, you're not going to understand what's going on. Like, you can still follow the book. And I just thought it was insane. It was amazing. Next up is a fairly recent read for me. This is another rockstar romance, one of my favourite genres, and this is probably one of the best rockstar romance standalones I've read, which is Midnight Stage by Sheridan Ann. Oh my god. This book was so good. So this basically follows Ray and Ezra Knight, which... Ezra Knight. Do you not think that is the best name for a rock star ever? Ezra Knight. I love it. Anyway, this follows Ray and Ezra Knight. So Ray's brother in this starts a rock band from a young age, and Ezra is her brother's best friend. And they've known each other since they were 16. It's kind of got like a childhood friends to lovers then kind of to enemies, but not really, like this whole unrequited love, push and pull, like I'll always still love you, it's always been you kind of scenario. And then it leads into like a second chance romance for the majority of the book. They start this rock band. Ray was there from the beginning. You know, she was one handing out pamphlets for them to go and play in clubs and pubs and all that kind of stuff. And then they get signed and they go on a world tour and they leave her behind. And whilst they leave her behind, something horrendous is happening to her in her childhood home, and it changes her, and she can never forgive them for it. So she can't forgive her brother for leaving her behind, and she also can't forgive Ezra for leaving her behind because they were in love. Like they were supposed to love each other. Like how could he leave her behind? And then fast forward to present day. They are finishing up a world tour and they're deciding to come home, and something really awful happens in this book which brings Ray and Ezra like back into each other's worlds again, and then she ends up on tour with them again, and it's about them sort of rekindling and addressing like what happened to them all those years ago, why they left each other, how sorry they are, like can they go back to what they were. It's so good, and it's a real true gritty rockstar romance where like you go on tour with them, you see them practicing, you're backstage with Ray, like you get to see it all. It's not just like he's a rock star, he writes a couple of songs for her on his guitar and he goes and plays in a couple of gigs. Like it's a really good rockstar romance. It is very, very dark. The storyline of what happens to Ray, you do need to check your trigger warnings because that is difficult to read, so I will say that. And it kind of tricks you because it doesn't really come in until about the 70% mark until you get to that point, and it is difficult to read. So be aware of that going into it, but I feel like this is really underrated, so everybody needs to read this. Next up, now this is probably one of the more unique ones here, but it is Grave Matter by Karina Howe. This book, okay, if I just say to you right now, this book is literally about fungi and mushrooms, you're gonna be like, Poppy, what do you mean? But it's so much more than that. So it's kind of like a paranormal thriller, mystery, dark romance. Sydney gets into this program where it's set on an island. She's obviously like a woman of science, and she gets onto this program. It's very prestigious, very hard to get into. Gets taken onto this island and they're studying fungi and mushrooms and like very specific types. And she goes off to this island and she gets there. She's very excited to like get into this program. But then once she arrives, like everything is not really as it seems. It is a professor-student romance, and her professor obviously is a bit older than her. And they have this like thing going on, and they have this attraction, this pull between them, which when you read the book, you kind of think it's a bit insta-lust, but when you get to the end of the book, you realise that there's no way it could have been insta-lust, but I can't tell you why because I don't want to ruin it. She has like all these therapy sessions and like sees a psychologist, and like everything's just a bit eerie. There's hallucinogenics involved. Like is everything that she's seeing real or is it not? Things are happening to students on this island. There's like this woods that like you shouldn't really go into, and there's like these weird animals out there that have all like mutated, and really weird stuff is happening. And that is just like not even really getting into what this story is about, because the twist at the end of this book is absolutely insane. I did not see it coming. I kind of had an inkling, but still was nowhere near what actually happened when the twist hit in this book. It's so good. And again, it's not really long, but it still manages to bring like a fully fleshed out story. Like this book was insane, and it's very different, but really good. So I really recommend it if you want something a little bit different, a little bit of mystery and some mushrooms. But like, when you say that out loud, it sounds really weird, but it works in this book. It just works. Okay, next up, this is another rockstar romance. I tend to find that most rockstar romances I read just tend to be standalones and end up being my favourites. But this is one of my all-time favourite rockstar romances, and that is Lilac by B.B. Reed. And it is my favourite because I have 3 editions of this book, and I will continue to buy more if I can ever find more. I love this book so much. So let's just hold on one. So Lilac by B.B. Reed is a why choose rockstar romance, and again you get the whole like the touring, going around the world, practicing with the band, going backstage, like you get all of that in this book, which is what I feel like for me is a good rockstar romance. Like I don't like it when the character is just a rock star and that's all it centres around. I need to go on tour with them and feel like I'm in the back of the tour bus, and that is what Lilac does for you. So this follows Braxton. The band that she becomes the lead guitarist for, they lose their guitarist and she's their replacement, and obviously the other 3 band members do not like her at all. They're not very nice to her. They don't give her a very warm welcome, but she's stuck on tour with them, literally on a tour bus and then on a plane for like 6 months or something, and she just, yeah, it's literally about her forming a relationship with these guys, Lauren, Rich and Houston. Now Rich is like really quiet, Houston is the one that's like really horrible to her, and then Lauren's the one that takes her under his wing a little bit quicker than the other boys do, and he's like really cheeky, and he's like my favourite character in this book. I loved him so much in this book. But also there is a subplot in this which is to do with Rich and his past as well, all interlinks and intertwines at the end of the book, and you get this like really crazy fast-paced end to the book, but it is quite spicy. There are multiple scenes, there are multiple group scenes in this, but it's not too fast. Like, it's not just about the spies, it's also about her building these relationships with them each individually, because they've all got their own stuff going on, and she connects with them each individually in this, and it's so good. When I read it, I remember thinking I thought it was going to be way spicier than it is. I don't think the spice is too bad. I'd say like maybe a 3.5 to 4 chili spices maybe in this, but yeah, it's really good. Really loved it. Think about this book all the time. Read this like 2 to 3 years ago and still cannot stop thinking about it. So for my Rockstar Romance girls, the ones I'm recommending in this are truly really good standalones. Okay, so next, this is a book that I love so much that I want to reread, but I just don't even know if I can ever reread it because it's that good and that heartbreaking that I just don't know if I'm ready to go through that again. But Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. This is like a love triangle / forbidden romance book, but the first half of the book and what sort of kickstarts the storyline is extremely dark. So be aware of that going into it because it's really difficult to read. This follows Cora and Dean. So Cora's sister is marrying Dean. So Dean is her sister's fiance, and Cora and Dean have never got along. They've never liked each other. Obviously they've been around each other for a very long time because he's been with her sister, and they've never liked each other. Now one night, Cora and Dean both end up getting kidnapped and survive this kidnapping with this like crazy serial unaliver together, and what they go through is horrendous. However, it brings this bond between them, like this, essentially, I guess you could say a trauma bond, but it creates this bond between them that is pretty unbreakable, and through that they're in love with each other. But obviously it completely destroys her relationship with her sister, it destroys Dean's relationship with her sister, and it's about navigating like the aftermath of trauma and what they went through together. And obviously like it's difficult because you could say the cheating trope is in this, but like that it is, but it isn't. But it's about them really fighting their feelings for each other because they don't want to hurt the people in their lives, and they don't want to hurt their family. They don't want to hurt this Cora's sister, but also you can't deny like what they went through has brought them closer together than ever. But then they also don't allow themselves to be together. So there is the whole like push and pull. I love you, but I shouldn't be with you. I want to, but I can't. And it's so heartbreaking and devastating, and it's so beautifully written as well. Like the writing in this is probably the best that I've read from Jennifer Hartman, to be honest. It's insane, and you are rooting for them. You root for them throughout this whole book, and then the ending kind of like shatters your heart but then pieces it back together again. It's such a good standalone, but if you want like heartbreak and emotional turmoil, then Still Beating is gonna bring you that. It's so good. It's written so well. I still can't get over it. I think I gave it like 4.75 stars, but to be honest, probably more like a 5-star read, because I think when I read this, it was so long ago, I was still figuring out what my rating system would be like, and I probably would have rated this 5 stars now. Like, I truly think that this book is so good, because it also makes you as a reader question, like, do you think what they're doing is right? Do you think they have a right to, like, want to be happy? And just because of what they went through, does it mean what they're doing is okay? But it's like, it makes you think a lot, and it just brings out all of these emotions in you, and it's one of the best standalones I've ever read. Okay, next is a standalone which I think I talk about quite a lot on my channel, but it's Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. This is a dark teacher-student romance, and this follows Emmerich and Ivory. Ivory is growing up in a really bad household. Like, she's not got it good, and she's like being abused, and she's not got it very good, but she's really talented on the piano, and she goes to this music school where Emmerich is her piano teacher, and she's really talented. And they have, look, I'm not gonna lie, I think the book is kind of incest, and obviously it's a little bit taboo in terms of like Ivory's age, like when the book starts. However, if you love things like Touch Her and Die, I'll Do Anything For Her, like hates everybody but her, then Emmerich is going to give you all of that in this book. Basically, Emmerich and Ivory obviously end up in this sort of relationship together, which they shouldn't be in. But it's so much deeper than that, and obviously there's a lot of things that go on in the book. There's a lot of things that Emmerich is doing behind closed doors. Like, the things he does for Ivory in this book is just crazy, and some of the spicy scenes in this, like, to this day, I will never forget about the piano scene in this book. When I read it at the time, I was like, my jaw was on the floor. I could not believe what I was reading, but it's really good. It's really, really spicy. Like 5 out of 5, really spicy, but it's a really good story. And like the character development in this, especially in Ivory, is so good. And Emmerich is such a really good morally grey professor as well. And it does have all of those kind of spicy like teacher-student romance where they're like, you know, staying up late after school together for like extra practice, or he walks past her in the hallway and he puts her up against a wall. Like it's got all of those like micro tropes in it that make the teacher-student like trope so good. And yeah, I really, really recommend it. And it's really well written as well. Probably one of the best written Pam Godwin books that I've read. Okay, next, yes, it is another Rockstar romance, but I feel like this book is so severely underrated and that like more people needed to talk about this book. But it's Midnight Blue by LJ Shen. I love this. Now this is leaning more contemporary. There's nothing too dark or anything like that in this. So if you don't love dark romance, this would be a really good one. And this book follows Indy and Alex. So Alex he's kind of like that typical micro trope in a Rockstar romance where he needs to reform his image. He's the typical bad boy rock star and he really needs to reform his image to go on tour. So Indy gets hired as like his PA or essentially, or like to just basically to help with his public image. So she has to keep him in check whilst he goes on tour and make sure that he's on his best behaviour and all that. And he's not very nice to her, but it's not like a bully romance. He's just not very nice to her. But throughout the book, he eventually realises that she is essentially his muse and he wants to become better for her. He wants to write better music. They're on tour together. It's got those scenes in it where like they're in a hotel. There's like a one-bed scene, but then there's also scenes where like they've got rooms, like doors opposite each other. They've had an argument. They both slam the door. But then like later on, he's like waiting outside her door or like she goes knocking on his door. And it's like got those like really cutesy little moments in it between them. But at his core, he is like a bad boy rock star and she doesn't know if she wants to get mixed up in that because she just doesn't know if she can really fully change him. It's really, really good. The only thing I didn't love about this, and I don't like normally in rock star romances, when they write too many lyrics, you have to like read through the lyrics, kind of makes me cringe. You do get that in this book, but I still gave it 4 stars. Like I still think it's a really good rock star romance. It's just like a really good contemporary rockstar story. And also I just love the character development in Alex by the end of this. The only thing that did annoy me is that sometimes I felt like the miscommunication between them was really unnecessary, but then it would then lead to him being able to write music and realise more about like their relationship together. So yeah, I really liked it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody really recommend this book, so I wanted to bring this book to your attention because I think it's a really good one. A fairly new and recent release, but The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. The character work in this book is so unique and so good. So in this book, Georgia is like a body language specialist, so she can read people, but like professionally. So all your micro expressions and everything, nobody can lie to Georgia. Now the setting of this is really, really good because it's set in, I think it's like Southern America, and her brother in it is gay and he's also an alcoholic. So obviously his family struggle to accept that side of him and they're not really like on board with it. And that part of her brother's character, I think his name is Oliver if I remember correctly, is really important to the full circle moment that you get in this book. So anyway, their father passes away, so they have to fly back to the family home for the funeral. They don't get on with this family at all. Georgia and Oliver are really, really close. He brings his AA sponsor, Sam, with him, who ends up becoming Georgia's love interest. And you've got all these different dynamics in the family. So first of all, Georgia and Sam's friendship and relationship as, you know, siblings, how close they are and how important that is to Oliver, and then what that does when Georgia starts falling for his AA sponsor, because he has this thing where he's like, why do you have to make everything about you? Like, he's here for me. Even my own family couldn't be here for me, and then my own sister like betrays me. That's how Ollie sees it. Then you've also got all the family dynamics, and there's a lot of secrets. Something gets left in the world to somebody who the family have no idea who this is, which then means that Georgia, Sam and Ollie have to go on a road trip to find out who this person is and why Georgia and Ollie's father left this money, and it's either money or like property or land, to this person. And then you meet this person and you find out this whole backstory to their father that just the full circle moment in it is so brilliant. But alongside all of this, Georgia's like this body language expert, and she's got like a horrible sister, and like their siblings, and the siblings' partners and wives and husbands are all involved in this. And it's a very dysfunctional family setting, but the character work is just so good. It's really unique, and it's one of my favourites from Jessa Hastings that's not in the Magnolia Parks universe, to be honest. I just think it's a really unique concept and really interesting. So yeah, I absolutely loved this. Then on to 2 books by H.G. Carlton. So the first one is Does It Hurt? This is an enemies to lovers, kind of like spooky, like perfect for like spooky season, eerie, like mystery, dark romance. It is, I've said this before, I'll say it again, it's one of the best enemies to lovers romances I have ever read. This follows Enzo and Sawyer. So Sawyer meets Enzo one night in a bar and she steals his identity. That's kind of what she's been doing, that's how she's been getting by. She steals his identity, and it takes him a long time to clock. They have this like one night stand, it takes him a long time to realise, and when he finds out, and I love this about his personality because that's not something you normally find in books. His job, he's a marine biologist and he studies sharks. So he takes it out on his boat, and knowing sharks' behaviour, he tries to scare her into like never messing with him again, essentially. And there is the shark scene where he does tip her head over the edge of the boat. In fact, you know what, I'm not even going to discuss it on here. If you know, you know, and if you don't, then you need to read the book and get to know. They literally despise each other. He hates her for doing that to her. Then she hates him for essentially like nearly killing her from what he does on this boat. Then a storm rolls in whilst they're out on the boat, and they end up shipwrecked on this island, and there's a lighthouse, and that's it. They don't know where they are, there's just one lighthouse, and there is a lighthouse keeper there. And it's this old guy, I'm pretty sure he's missing a leg, and he's been there for a long time, and he offers for them to stay. He tells them that there is only ever one ship that passes by every 28 days that brings him like all the supplies that he needs. So they are like, we're gonna have to wait 28 days for this supply ship to come past the island. Anyway, whilst they're staying with him in this lighthouse, really weird things are happening. So really odd stuff starts happening. They keep hearing things, they keep thinking they can hear someone walking around, they think someone's like with chains attached to them, someone keeps banging on their door at night, and so they just think it's haunted. But the story is so much spookier than that, and it's just a really good book because whilst they're stranded on this island, there's only one bed, they're trapped in this one room together, they absolutely hate each other, but they also need each other to survive. It's so good. This is H.G. Carlton like at her best, I think. As much as I love the cat and mouse duet, I actually think this is better in terms of like a standalone, in terms of just one book and wrapping up this story. I think this book is so good. Actually, maybe not better, but I just think for a standalone, I think she just did such an incredible job with this. I love it. I love it so much. And then also Shallow River. Now this is probably the darkest book that I'm recommending, so just be aware of that going forwards. And it is a story about abuse. It's one of those dark romances where it's not like unhinged MMCs and it's kind of like you can take it not so seriously and it's just like, oh, it's just fiction. Because even though this is just fiction, this is something that very much happens to people in real life. It is a story about abuse. And in this book, River is in an abusive relationship and she's trying to leave it, essentially. That is the premise of the book. Is depicted quite vividly on page. There's also another character in this called Mako, who is like a police officer in this town. They get really close. He is investigating things and it's really weird. I don't want to talk too much about the storyline, but it's interesting how what Mako's investigating and then what's happening to River all intertwines and like loops into the same plot as you get towards the end of this book. And what I will say is that for anybody who's ever been through any kind of abuse, this is actually probably a really freeing and empowering book to read because of how strong River is in this and what she overcomes and what she manages to do. And Mako is just that like breath of fresh air that you need in a book that is this dark. So even though it's quite dark and it is like a bit of a harrowing read, it's really good. I think it's one of like, in terms of the storyline of it, I think she handled it really sensitively, but also without shying away from the truth and the reality of it too much. Also whilst interweaving like this romance storyline that kind of gives you just this respite from the story. It's so good. So just know it is dark going into it, but I do think it's a really good dark romance. I think I gave this like 4 stars or maybe like a 4.25. Yeah, really liked it. I mean, H.G. Carlton is just like one of my favourite authors. And then lastly we have Nocticadia by Kerry Lake. This is a dark professor-student romance. This is kind of similar to grave matter, but not the same at the same time. Lilia in this gets into a very prestigious school where they're doing like all these scientific experiments on a very specific parasite, and it's very difficult to get into. She gets an offer letter, she goes to join. You can only access it by boat. It's on an island. It's like a really good gothic setting. And then Professor Deverick Bramwell in this is doing all these like experiments behind closed doors because he is closely linked to the parasite, but then so is Lilia. They've both got these backstories, which is why they want to work and experiment on this parasite. The backstory is really spooky, quite eerie and very different, very gothic, very dark, quite an ominous book, but also you've got this professor-student sort of element to it, and that it is really good. You get the scenes where they're like sitting in class and they're making eye contact with each other, or everybody's getting up to leave, he's asking Lilia to stay behind and have a conversation with her, and yeah, it's just so good. And there's really weird things that are happening at the school, and there's corrupt teachers, like the student body itself is quite corrupt, and they're trying to get rid of Lilia. They think she's too close to things. Lilia also comes from like a really bad like home background, and she's trying to investigate essentially like her mother's death, and then like her mother's boyfriend at the time, like he's kind of like, he's a very interesting character because he's really layered and quite complex. He's not very nice to her, but then on the other hand you think he is nice. Her and Deverick just sort of end up in this like really spicy like teacher-student romance, and it's really good. And they do these like experiments together, like in these underground like crypts or caves, and like they have to spend the night together and they get locked in, and there's just finding out each other's secrets slowly. It's just one of the best gothic romances I've read so far. I gave it 4.75 stars. It is super unique as well, like the storyline. When you first start to read it, the prologue really grips you and you're like, what am I about to, like a parasite? Like what am I about to read? But when I tell you that it just makes sense with the book. It brings the most perfect layer to a gothic romance because we're trying to learn as well. Like we feel like as readers we're being left out, and you can't help but keep turning the page to find out more and find out how this is all linked, because the prologue really sets the tone for the book. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this. Deverick Bramwell as well, super morally grey but in the best way, and as always with Kerry Lake, extremely well written. So if you've been sitting on this book, you need to read it. Obviously this is one of the more popular recommendations in this. I think everybody's heard of this book, but I really thoroughly recommend it. I put it off for so long and I regretted it so much. Oh my god, I feel like I've been talking for ages. So there we go. I hope that if you get a recommendation for this book, you really enjoy it. Let me know if you do pick up anything from this, or if you're going to, in the comments. Honestly, they are some of my favourite standalones that I've read over the years. If you do want me to do another standalone book recommendation video, then let me know. Or if you want another record, like, I don't know, the spiciest books I've read. I've done one which was the darkest books I've read. That is going to be one of my playlists if you are interested in that. I want to start doing some more book recommendation videos because it's getting to the point where I have read, I mean, near on like 400 books now, and I want to talk about them all with you guys. But anyway, I am now off to start a 24-hour reading challenge vlog, so make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss that. I'm super excited to get into that. It's all going to be fantasy books. Literally going to start that after this, so can't wait. Thank you so much for watching my video, guys, and I'll see you in my next one.